In today's video, we'll be talking about how to get that A star in GCSE Biology. Given the fact that you have so many things to learn, to understand, to remember, and then also to apply correctly to different types of questions, you need to have some sort of system. My suggestion to all of my students is to use a 3-point framework, which is comprehension, retention, and application. What do we mean when we say comprehension? Well, simply put, it just means that you need to not only be able to remember something, but also to understand it and to explain a specific process in detail. For example, you might know that carbon dioxide moves across the alveoli and we exhale it as a gas, but you might not remember necessarily or even understand why that happens. So think about some other basic principles that you might know about. Take the example of removing carbon dioxide from your body. You might know that it happens, but you also need to understand how it happens. For this, think about some other basic concepts like diffusion and the movement of carbon dioxide from the blood, which is within your capillaries, across the alveoli, and then the subsequent removal of carbon dioxide as gas when you're breathing out. What's important about this? The important thing is that diffusion and the constant removal of carbon dioxide can happen because you have the concentration gradient that's maintained. And this is the key to answering questions with sufficient depth so you can score the marks. Of course, what's really important is not just understanding, but also being able to remember all of this content so that you can answer the questions properly. So what can you do? Well, it depends on you. Some people like flashcards, some people like mind maps, some people prefer to write out lists. The key thing is that you're using a method that works for you to summarize information in a way that you will want to engage with it, because the key thing is active recall. Finally, consider the last step of this framework, which is application. You'll have different types of questions across all of your subjects, but in biology, think about the fact that you're as likely to be given a database question as a definition, and so you need to be able to do both. Now let's talk about the types of questions that you might come across in a GCSE biology exam. The first type of question is a fact recall question. For this, flashcards, mind maps, anything where you summarized information might be really useful because you could rely on definitions or some equations or other summarized versions of ideas that you've seen in the biology syllabus. These questions are usually short, but make sure to check the number of marks to give enough detail. Another type of question might expect you to use information that you already have in contexts that might not be familiar. So the second type of question that you might have is where you have to apply knowledge and scientific ideas to new contexts. For example, you might have studied enzymes in the context of humans, but this question is asking you about enzymes in the context of bacteria. Well, the same principles will apply. The only thing that's changed is the unfamiliar context. Remember the foundational principles that you've studied and apply them to the specific context of the question. The last type of question that you might see is one where they expect you to analyze and interpret information. Oftentimes, this kind of question is going to have a table or a graph, and one of the most important things that you need to do is focus on the information. If it's a graph, you have some axes that will describe variables, and you're trying to understand what kind of relationship are they communicating to you? What are they trying to tell you in this graph? If it's a table, you're going to have columns and you're going to have rows that describe relationships and changes that will be relevant to you in answering the question. Keep in mind that you should be using the information that's relevant to the question that they're asking in your answer, and don't include information that's not relevant. In longer questions, you might be asked to evaluate the data, so think about the strengths and weaknesses of this particular experiment. Sometimes you have to go back a few pages of the exam paper to do that. To sum up this video, consider the framework that we talked about at the beginning to help you learn and revise the information, as well as the different types of questions when applying that information to them to help you gain those top marks and score your A star. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe, share it with a friend, and don't forget to ask any questions through a comment below, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. At Spires, world-class tutors are just one click away, and we can instantly match you with academics from Oxbridge, the Russell Group, and Ivy League universities. Tutors are available in 20 countries and in countless subjects. So take care, and we wish you the best of luck in your studies.